Hi, my name is Samantha McIntyre, and I'm from Orange County, California.
Hi, my name is Michaela Appel. I'm from Rockaway Beach, New York.
My name is Ellie. I am 21 years old. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Delaney Stewart. I'm 21 years old and I'm from Denver, Colorado.
Hello, my name is Ashley Graham. I am 19 years old. I am from Yonkers, New York.
So, about 5 months ago, October of last semester, I tried to kill myself, and they took me to a hospital. I was taken in for a week. I missed school. I was in the mental hospital of Mount Vernon, I think. And I've had severe depression for over 6 years now, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. There are times in my day where I just don't want to be here, and that's been really hard for me to think that when I've seen firsthand people losing their loved ones. And I've even seen people lose their loved ones over suicide. And it hurts me to know that I still live with shame. I still live with the shame of, man, if someone just knows that the depression makes me not want to be here sometimes, maybe they would hate me, you know? Maybe they would think I'm crazy. And that's something that I've struggled with, and it's something that I'm still struggling with. And I know that when I was in the mental hospital, I met so many people who felt the way I felt and who got it. And that meant so much to me because to this day I know I'm not crazy. You know? To this day I know that there are hundreds of people living with this every day who are ashamed and scared to tell people because I wish that I didn't feel this way, you know? I wish that I could feel happy all the time, and I wish that I sometimes, you know, I just wish I didn't feel this way. And I don't want people to think that it's my fault. I don't want anyone struggling with mental illness to think that it's your fault, because it's not. And I don't know why that I got the things that I got, but I know that everyone goes through pain. I know that everyone lives with pain. And to this day, I know that it's possible to live with pain because every day that I don't want to be here, I still am. Five months ago, I was in a mental hospital. And I was so terrified to come out. I was so terrified to do life again. And it's still hard. That doesn't go away as easily as people think it will. But I know that from this struggle, and from the struggle that I'm still enduring, like I said, each day that I don't want to be here, I still am. I'm still fighting. And to anyone struggling or who feels alone or severely, severely depressed, I want you to know that you're not alone. And it took me a while to realize that I'm not alone either. And through my faith and through the friends that I have and through the family that I have, I know that the stigma attached to mental illness of people saying like, oh, you're so depressed, you're so crazy, you know, you're so selfish. None of that's true. I've struggled for so long now, and I'm still struggling every day. But I know that it's possible to live with pain. And I think that other people know that too. All I know is, although I have a mental illness, I was diagnosed with severe depression. I don't want that to define who I am. And mental illness shouldn't define anybody. You're so much more than the chemical imbalance in your brain. And I remember 5 months ago, I saw my life in fragments of dust and stars. One day I felt like a star, but most of the time I just felt like dust. Like I could just be erased. Like someone could just shoot me and all the pain would go away. And then they would cut open my body and see the depression finally inside of me. You know what I mean? I feel like there's so much sadness in my body. And that's like the symbolization I use for it. Like if you cut open my body, you'd be able to see my depression. But people don't see it. And there's a stigma attached to that too. And 5 months ago, that's all I thought about. But to this day, although I struggle, I know that I'm here. I know that I'm alive. I'm breathing, and I thank God for that every day. And if any of you are struggling, I do want you to know that it is possible to live with this pain. And suicide is not the answer. And you are so loved. That's my story. And I pray and hope that people will take something good from that and no judgment or harm would come from it. And every day I still live with my scars. I struggled with self-harm for a long time too. And yeah, self-harm's been really hard for me. I mean, a lot of times I still wear long sleeves because I don't want people to know, but the truth is that my scars have healed, and although they're still there, they've healed. And I'm not gonna let this depression take my life away from me. And I hope that someone out there can understand what I'm going through and to know that we're not alone.
My father passed away when I was 6 years old. So when I was born, my parents were already separated. They weren't divorced, they were just separated. And it was hard for my mom to live with my dad because he was an alcoholic. He was sick, and she just couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't take his not making the right, safe, smartest decisions. So she knew that she had to get out of there. And she started living with my grandmother, who lives in Breezy Point. And she lived with him, she lived with them, and my two older siblings and my grandparents, my grandma and grandpa. And then when I came into the world, we were supposed to all live as a family, but my dad never finished a rehab treatment that my mom kind of pushed him into. But he wanted to do it too, but he never finished the full program because he felt that he was better after only half of the time allotted. And my mom didn't feel comfortable living with him again because he didn't finish his rehab. So we lived with my grandparents for about 5 years of my life. And then we moved out to Rockaway. We would see our dad sometimes on the weekend, my brother, sister, and I. They would go to his house more often though, because I was so little. I wasn't really allowed to like spend the weekend with him. I remember like my dad would come over and my siblings would get in the car and they would all drive off. And I remember being in my mom's arms, waving goodbye, and have a nice weekend. But as I got a little older, I was allowed to go with him though. I remember the layout of his house. I remember how lumpy his couch was when I would sleep on it. I remember always playing Uno with him and Frisbee outside. I wasn't very good at Frisbee or Uno. I'd cheat a lot. But it'd be okay because I was 6. And I remember my mom really tried to get us really involved with his family for like family parties. So she would drive out to his house and then we'd pick him up and then we'd go to the family party or whatever. She always tried to make him as involved as he could be because he lived in Long Island and we lived in Queens, so it was kind of difficult for him to see us. But like sometimes he'd come over for like a family dinner and it was really nice to just have my full family together. Okay, so fast forward to 2003. That was when it like kind of started going downhill. My mom said that he was hospitalized a few times before he passed away. But I only remember one time. He was in the hospital and I remember my mom and sister going to see him, but I wasn't allowed to go because I was too little. And it wasn't good for me to go, I guess. But yeah, I remember I wasn't allowed to go. And then 2004 comes along, and that was the year my oldest sibling, my brother, he was turning 13, and it was like really cool to have a sibling that was a teenager. At least that's what 6-year-old Michaela thought. And so it was so cool, but to have a teenager. But my father, for some reason, he didn't come out for my brother's birthday. I think he called him, but he didn't come out to dinner with us or anything. The very next day is when he passed away. I went to school like it was any other day. And then I got off the bus, walked to my grandparents' house. But when I walked in, something wasn't right. My grandparents had their coats on, and they said that they were gonna take me home instead of my mom coming to get me after work, which was a little weird, but I didn't think much of it as a 6-year-old. So then I went in the car and was going to my house. It felt like the longest ride of my life. In reality, it's only like a 10-15 minute drive, but it felt so long. When I walked in the door, I saw my mom there with her sister and her sister's husband, my aunt and uncle, and she told me that she needed to tell me and my siblings something, but that we had to wait till they got home. So then they got home, and then she was talking to us about our dad and how he was sick. And we all knew he was sick, but describing like how much he was suffering recently, like the hospital visits and stuff. And then she came out and said, Dad passed away in his sleep last night. I could still remember I could picture her bawling. And then I can remember my sister, she's like running out of the house crying. And my brother, he didn't react. He doesn't cry. I've never seen him cry. I don't remember my own reaction. My mom said that I went right to her. She was bawling, so I guess I was trying to console her. I don't remember how I reacted. I don't remember my last words to him. I don't remember the last time I saw him. It just sucks not being able to remember. Thinking about my dad makes me sad. Anytime I even mention him, my mom tears up. She just feels bad that we didn't get as much time as we deserved with him. He was a great guy. She would tell us stories and stories. And I just wish I got to know him more. It sucks that he won't be there for my college graduation, won't be there for all our weddings. He won't be able to walk my sister and I down the aisle. But I know he's in all our hearts, and I know he's looking down over us. I just wish he could be here with us.
So I've basically had generalized anxiety for my entire life. And it had been manageable for 18 years. And then I went overseas with my best friend to meet somebody and hang out with them. I hadn't seen them in 2 years. And she left in the middle of the night and didn't say anything to me. She left me in a foreign country by myself. And it was really horrible, and we were best friends for years before that, so obviously oh, something's wrong with me, and I must have done something really bad for my best friend to leave me in a foreign country. And anyway, I was just really, really broken up about it. And this happened between semesters at Concordia. So I came back to Concordia, and at the time I had this sort of casual boyfriend person, and he was really not cool with how not okay I was. So the relationship got really toxic and horrible and abusive, and it didn't matter how many times I broke up with this person. He would lie and gaslight me and say that I was crazy and tell everybody else I was crazy, and oh, if you hear her say that we broke up, it's not true. And it was just really awful, but I couldn't really see how awful it was when I was in it. It wasn't until the next summer when I started realizing that I was still having panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and isolating myself and flinching when people said this person's name or at the scent of something that reminded me of him. And I had really bad insomnia, and I realized oh, this is an issue. This is an ongoing problem. And yeah, so it took me a really long time to seek out help. Help is hard to seek out sometimes. I tried everything else I could first, meditation and painting and journaling, and screaming into the void and running and cutting all my hair off and whatever. And things helped a little, but there were still problems. And I started to consider that I might have post-traumatic stress disorder. So I went to the internet, as all people who think they have an illness do. And the internet basically told me, no, that's only for veterans. So I went, oh, okay, thanks, internet. That set me back pretty far. A lot of people were telling me that like what happened to me wasn't that bad, and the abuse wasn't that bad, and the abuse, maybe it didn't really happen. Maybe I really was crazy, because after all, he said I was crazy, so how could they trust my story? And I seemed really happy when I was with him, so obviously I was, but like, happy people don't, like, happy people don't stay up all night crying every single night, so. And sad people can, in fact, smile. Yeah, so it took me such a long time to get to a place where I was ready to get some real help, and I went to somebody, and a lot of people were really judgmental about it, because only crazy people need to see therapists, but I'm really glad I did. She told me that I do have PTSD, in fact. Cool, my illness is valid. I still struggle with that, though. On top of struggling with the illness, I struggle with the diagnosis. From a feminist and humanist perspective, I know that people with mental illnesses are just as valid and perfect and whole and good and valued as people without mental illnesses, but when it's on me, it makes me broken. So on the one hand, it was really great to finally have some validation for like, oh yeah, no, this is a legit thing. I'm not just a drama queen. I'm not just, oh, that girl that cries at everything. Like, that's not my personality. That's just a symptom of something that can be treated and taken care of, and maybe not ever like fixed, but managed. And that gave me a lot of hope, but on the other hand, it was like, this is a label that is on me, and it's stuck. And it means that it's real, and it means that I can't ignore it anymore, and that I have to continue to seek help. So I've been doing that, and I've been doing okay. Sometimes it's still hard to talk about because people don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I'll explain something to someone and they say like, oh, you've met me 4 times, how come you don't remember my name? I'm like, actually, I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and that affects the blood flow and size of my hippocampus. I took cognitive psych once, and I know everything about my illness. So that's why I can't remember who you are. It's not personal, it's scientific. And then the responses are either like extreme pity or stop making yourself a victim. Like, I'm not complaining that I have PTSD. It's just, it's part of who I am, and it's why I can't remember anything, and why school used to be so easy for me, and now it's a genuine struggle, and why I have to write everything down, and why I have to ask my friends to confirm our plans like 15 times. Because if you say we're doing plan A, and then later on in the conversation you change it to plan B or C or whatever, I'm gonna remember plan A. And it just, yeah, having a way to explain why I am the way that I am is a blessing and a curse. Because people do often think that I am excusing rather than explaining, or that I'm playing victim. And the thing is that I don't refer to myself as a victim when it comes to my illness, or when it comes to the horrendous things that happened to me that caused the illness, the abandonment, and then the return and utter disregard for my bodily autonomy. I lost my train of thought. PTSD problems. Yeah, I don't consider myself a victim. I would call myself a survivor because I'm still here, and sometimes it's really, really hard to be here, and I'm still here, and I don't just mean here as in alive, because that's hard too, but to still be in school, to still be in higher education when it's such a high-stress environment. And yeah. So I don't consider myself a victim of any of that. I consider myself a survivor. And the same with my PTSD. I make jokes about it. I use it to help me understand myself and help me work better. I know now that I need to write everything down or I'm going to forget. I know now what I need to avoid to be okay. What's going to help me when I'm panicking. What types of behaviors skeeve me out. And sometimes that means I have to hurt people's feelings and tell them, like, hey man, like, you're really stressing me out, and I don't like it when people do X, Y, Z, and then, you know, I'm complaining or I'm sensitive, I need to get over it. But so what? You know, so what? I am still alive. I am still a student. I am still an artist. I am still an activist. I am still myself despite the things that happened to me and despite the struggles that I still go through because of them. And I don't think that you necessarily need to be a victim to be struggling. Lots of things are worth the struggle, and I also don't think that struggling means that you're weak. It means that you're strong, because if you saw the struggle and you decided not to go for it, or you gave up, or you did just slump and decide not to pick yourself up again, then you're not struggling. I don't mean to say that there's a right way or a wrong way to be a survivor, and you can identify however you want to identify yourself, but in my life, I am a survivor and I am a struggler, and it's okay that I'm struggling. Even if I'm just Sisyphus pushing a rock up a hill every day to watch it roll back down again, at least I'm still picking up the rock when I could quit. And I haven't really figured out what the rock is for yet. I haven't figured out why I'm still doing it and why I'm still here. But I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna use the things that happened to me to make better art, be a better activist, be a better friend, be a better ally. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about struggling other than it builds muscles, it builds courage, and it builds character. And if you can't do the struggle right now, that's okay too. That's what allies and friends and medical professionals and medication and therapy are for, to help you get through things until you're in a healthier place.
I lost my brother October 23rd of 2016. All I can remember is the day and leading up to it of when I found out he was actually gone. I had talked to him the previous day. He called me and I missed the call. And then I called him back because he said, I just wanted to say I love you. And I called him back and he was like, he just told me that he was gonna watch my game at a volleyball game that night. And he told me he loved me. And the next day my mom called me and she had told me she couldn't get a hold of him. And I was like, oh no, Mom, it's fine. Like, nothing's happening. So we ended up having the police go to my house because my mom works in Afghanistan and my dad lives in Salt Lake City. And I got the call at 9:33 p.m. from my dad. I was upstairs on the 3rd floor of Boehm with my friends because I needed to get out of the library and the brick. And I was talking to Rosalind and her son Lucas, who I babysit, and I get the phone call that I was expecting. I wasn't expecting anything to happen, but I was expecting my dad to tell me what was going on. And he was just crying. And all I remember is falling to the floor and screaming. And I could feel my heart breaking into a million pieces. Because I didn't believe it. And I just screamed and I threw my phone. I was begging my dad for it not to be true. And so I found my way back downstairs because I live on the 1st floor. And I don't really remember what else happened. All my friends were with me, my teammates. And I flew on a plane the very next morning to go home. And my mom flew 2 days back from Afghanistan. And the more and more, like, I was the first one to get home. My dad wasn't there. My mom wasn't there yet. I went to a family friend's house. But the more and more I found out about the situation, the more I couldn't believe, and it was just unfathomable that he wasn't with me anymore. And even to this day, I don't get it. I struggle in my mind every day how he's not here and how I don't get to talk to my best friend every day. But even with how my heart is constantly broken and I constantly have this burning in my chest, I can't even fathom the kind of pain he was in. He suffered from mental illness and he took his life on October 23rd. And that's forever going to be the worst day of my life. And like 5.5 months out from it, and I can still remember the moment I found out. I remember every detail of the funeral. But I have the hardest time remembering him. And that makes it so hard. It's something I struggle with every day. I try and think of things that he used to do. And I remember sometimes from not too long ago, but I've always struggled with remembering things. But I never thought I would have to remember something about my brother, because that's what I'm going to hold on to for the rest of my life. And since then, I've really struggled with anxiety, and I flash back to a lot of things that have happened since October. Like, I used to almost every day flash back to the moment I found out, and that breaking heart feeling that I live with every day. And it honestly is just a day-to-day struggle and push to get up out of bed and to keep going. Some days it doesn't work. Some days you just gotta stay in bed, and you have to do what you have to do to get through the day and to live on. Not even live on, because living on would never be the same without him. But to just take the day I never know how I'm gonna feel every day. And that's something that's super hard for me because I like to plan things. And I always feel bad when I don't know why I act the way I act sometimes. And it's not for the better, it's for the worse half of the time. And it's just having my mind races constantly, and I have so many questions and so many things that'll never get answered. When in reality, there's something so easy. I want to just talk to my brother again. I want to be able to have him see me graduate college and get married and everything. And I feel so awful for both of my parents. They struggle. You can't compare struggles and problems and grief, obviously. And no person's grief is greater or less than another's, but I feel so horrible for both of them as much as they probably do for me. But I love both of them with all my heart, and I love my brother with all my heart. And I just can't even fathom the pain that he was in. And that's what makes this, I don't want to say easier, but that's what makes this more doable. There's no words to put into. You can't explain someone that has such pain in their heart because he was such a beautiful person.
Growing up with autism was really hard. Being a child with autism, people don't really understand, why you're so shy or why you're so quiet or why you can't make eye contact with people. And that's pretty hard, I would say. Now, my specific type of autism is Asperger's. It's a little bit more high functioning than most, but it's still hard. When I was growing up, I was bullied a lot because I didn't fit in with the other kids. I was always, the odd one, the one who didn't hang out with, hang out with people, the one who made odd comments, was very literal. And it was hard because what you want in life is to always fit in. And growing up, it's very hard. And I didn't understand what was wrong with me at one point, and I didn't understand why I was the way I was. So from the ages of 4 to 10, people made fun of me, and it made me feel like I had no one to talk to. And especially my parents, it was difficult because I never told them, kids were bullying me and stuff like that, and so it made it harder. And so I felt like because of that, I would make their lives so much more difficult. So when I was 10 years old, I attempted suicide. It was very hard because I didn't want to hurt myself. I didn't want to, in the terms, die. I wanted help, and I didn't know how to get it. And it was very hard because when you're a kid, you don't know how to express yourself, and especially when you get Asperger's or autism, it's so hard to want to express yourself to people. And sometimes it's easy for certain people with autism, but for others, it's almost not possible. And during that time of my life, we had family issues with my sister and whatnot, and it was very, very difficult to feel like I was important. But anyway, the autism didn't help at all because I felt like I couldn't speak to anyone about the problem. And even after that, I said to my mom, after a few attempts, I need help. I want help. I want to get better. And so I told my mom one night I wanted to go to the hospital. I went for like 12 days. They basically talked to me as though I was a child the whole time, which I was. But when you grow up with Asperger's and autism, you always feel a lot wiser. You always feel a lot smarter. You always feel like you understand more than people give you credit for. And it's hard. It really is to live that kind of life of you're a child, you're seen as a child, but you don't feel like one. So after I got out of the hospital, they told me that, they were going to move schools and whatnot, which I was fine with. I had no complaints. And, after a while, it got easier dealing with the autism when going from school to school. It helped me to deal with change, which was also a very big problem with me. I hate change even now. Because change means something is not going to be the same as it used to be. It means that I have to adjust to another situation in which I hate, and that's very hard for someone with autism. And I'm not saying that I'm using it as a crutch, my autism as a crutch. I try so hard not to do so. So would push through after that. I would try to push through, all the autistic obstacles. Like for me, going out to order bagels for my mom or something like that was always so hard. But I was pushed at school, at life, because I didn't want to live in the therapy world. I never did. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, I knew what I wanted. I wanted to grow up. And I wanted to be someone with autism who was able to do that. I wanted to be able to say to someone, hey, I can do this. I can go for it. I could go through the school system without even if it's not the best type of school system, I can go through it and I can graduate and I can be something. And even if that means I have to put myself in the most uncomfortable situation that I only can think of. And that's what I did. And the way I would deal with it was I realized it's another challenge down. My autism has not beaten me. My Asperger's has not beaten me. I have not stopped myself from moving forward. I kept myself going. Now there are times when my anxiety will get the best of me due to my autism. And sometimes it's really hard to get past it. Like talking to people I don't know, or talking to someone I do know about something that's uncomfortable for me. And I will still move past it. And what keeps me going is the fact that I want to be the person I started out I wanted to be when I was young. I never stopped dreaming about what I wanted to be. And that's turned me kind of into the person I am now. I know what the therapy world is like. So that's why my major itself is social work, and I want to help people who have these issues, who have the problems of they're being bullied because people want to be cruel, because people don't understand. I want to help people to understand that autism isn't a disease. It's something you just naturally have. And I've seen how people can treat me. Even now, I still get the so sweet voice of being innocent, being naive. And there are sometimes I just want to say, hey, I'm not stupid, I'm autistic. There is a difference. But for some people, they can't get over it. And what I do now is I try so hard to push past that. I try to show them, hey, it's okay. I'm not fragile. I can't be broken by your words. And I think I've showed that enough through my life. Also, while going through all of my trials, I've had great support and family. Although when I was younger, although when I was younger, I did go through some issues with my autism where I would have to adjust to things such as my sister either being there or not being there because she had an issue. You know, I had to learn that also helped me to learn to be wiser with my autism, and it helped me to grow faster than most kids. And I don't just think my autism is to blame for that. A lot of times, thinking when you're older, my sister was in a very bad place when she was younger, and, you know, as a party girl would go, drugs, alcohol, all got into that. And so I felt like I had to grow up, and I did very fast growing up, because I had a reason. And that also helped me to push past the issues that I had. I saw past my autism, I saw past everything that I had gone through. And it helped me to move forward as a person. What I do today to help my autism, some things that I can't do, or I try to do and I sometimes can't, I will continuously retry to do it until I can actually do that thing. Or I take 2 steps back, analyze the situation, and I keep trying. I don't give up though. I try so hard not to give up. Now, there are some times where my anxiety gets so bad that I have to. But then once the anxiety is gone, I retry. But I never try to give up on myself. I never try to let my autism defeat me. And that's the other thing. I don't see my autism necessarily as a bad thing. I see it as it has made me wiser than my years. It has made me realize that I am who I am today because I have it. And nothing should change that. So, yeah. And I've also had a very good background growing up after the fact. I had parents who wanted me to get better. I had parents who believed in me. I had parents I have a mother who has autism who is way beyond her years even now. And she has shown me that it is possible to live a life with autism without the fear of the autism.